and welcome back to Interesting Stuff. This is the Homeschool Supplement where we look at subjects that have sparked my interest recently. And I'm going to share a little bit of information with you. Maybe you know it, maybe you don't, but let's dive in. Today we're looking at the five senses. So the importance of the head, the skull, and the brain is demonstrated by the fact that 4 of our 5 basic senses are housed and operated solely within that area. Touch, of course, is the one odd one out, but it is still controlled by the brain that processes the pressure signals that come from all over the body. Now, humans are predominantly visual creatures. Yes. I like what I see, and I see what I like. And we're able to see things because light enters our eye and is focused on the retina at the back of the eyeball. The cells in the retina convert this information into electrical signals which are sent to the brain to interpret. Different cells in the retina deal with color and brightness. Regarding sound, waves make our eardrums vibrate. These vibrations are passed onto the cochlea, within which there are hair cells that generate a nerve impulse that is sent to the brain. It's as simple and as complicated as that. Taste begins when the buds, mainly on our tongue, are stimulated. There are 5. Most people think there's only 4, but there are 5 receptors that can detect sweet, sour, bitter, salty, and umami. Umami is a savory taste that was discovered only in 1908 due to it being the most subtle of the 5 tastes. Indeed, many people still don't even realize that it exists. On the subject of smell, smell is closely related to taste, and each can be affected by the loss of the other. Smell is triggered by the stimulation of olfactory receptors in the nose. There are many more smell receptors than we have taste receptors. Finally, we perceive touch through the receptors on our skin, including the tiny hairs with which our skin is covered all over our bodies. The receptors vary in sensitivity depending upon where they are on the body. So, for example, the palm of your hand is much more sensitive to touch than the back of your hand. Wow. You want some curious facts? Let's start with the fact that a newborn baby initially sees the world upside down because it takes time for a baby's brain to turn the picture the right way up. And have you ever noticed with children's writing, sometimes they learn to write backwards first? It's quite fascinating, really. Not sure why they do that. Maybe you can let me know why they do that. Now, your nose can tell the difference between 4,000 and 10,000 different smells. That's quite a lot. And the older you are, the fewer amount of smells you can detect. Yeah, because as you get older, your faculties deteriorate somewhat. Scientists measure loudness in what's called decibels. A whisper is around 20 decibels, car traffic is around 70, and a gunshot is around 140 decibels. And I imagine that a Metallica concert is probably about 1 billion decibels. And on to stats, some interesting stats for you. Did you know that 75% of all sensory processes in the brain are visual? Perhaps that's why the Italians say, love enters and leaves through the eyes. 12% of all sensory processes in the brain involve smell, taste, and touch. And 13% of all sensory processes in the brain involve simply hearing. Which is interesting that it's only down to 13% because a lot of learning actually occurs through listening. Have you had enough yet? Do you want some more? Here's a few more interesting little bits to keep your brain boggling. Not only can your tongue taste, but it also picks up texture and temperature in your food. For example, it can pick up creamy, crunchy, hot, or dry. Your tongue is also one of the strongest muscles in your body and is able to heal from injury more quickly than any other part. Regarding sight, what actually happens is that images are sent to the brain upside down, and the brain itself must make sense of what it receives by turning the image the right way around. The brain also uses the images from two eyes to create a 3D, three-dimensional effect. This allows us to perceive depth. On the subject of touch, there are 4 kinds of basic touch sensations that can be identified: cold, heat, contact, and pain. Hair on the skin increase the sensitivity and can act as an early warning system for the body. You know, when you're scared and the hair on your arm stands up. The fingertips also have one of the greatest concentrations of nerve endings. People who are blind can use their sense of touch to read with the language of Braille, which is a kind of writing that uses bumps to represent letters of the alphabet. On the subject of smell, our sense of smell is capable of identifying at least 7 different types of sensations. These are put into these categories: camphor, musk, flower, mint, ether, acrid, or putrid. The sense of smell is sometimes lost for a short time when a person has a cold. Have you noticed that? When you have a cold, you can't smell things? Probably because your nose is blocked, but there you go. Many animals, such as dogs, have much more sensitive smell systems than humans do. In addition to being the organ for smell, the nose can also clean the air that we breathe, and it also impacts the sound of our voice. And something that's really unusual, in addition to sight, smell, taste, touch, and hearing, humans also have the sense of balance, pressure, temperature, pain, and motion. These various so-called new senses all work together, and some scientists have suggested that they may involve the coordinated use of the already known 5 senses. What do you think about that? Is that cool? It's pretty amazing. I mean, we're using our senses all the time and not really thinking about what it is that we're doing. And it's wild. It's just another example of how fantastic the human body is and how little we appreciate this spacesuit that we have for our lives that we walk around in. Now, some people will tell you that there is, in fact, a mysterious 6th sense. That's perhaps a mix of the other senses, or perhaps an instinct that humans have. Some other people might say it's a higher power or divine intervention or inspiration. Who knows? I have no idea. But I do know that sometimes I'm able with my stomach or my gut to realize when I'm in a bad situation, or I'm able to use my stomach or gut to help me make a decision that's important in my life. So there's obviously much more to this subject that we need science to investigate and discover. So that's it. That's information about the senses. I hope that it was interesting for you. I hope that you picked up something new from this. If there's another subject that you'd like me to dive into and look at, I'd be very happy to do that. As usual, there will be some questions posted under the video so that you can check your learning. And once again, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, I wish you an absolutely fantastic day. Take care, and I will speak to you again very soon.